Emily's hands froze on the steering wheel as she watched the black Lincoln Navigator flip 3 times before crashing into the concrete barrier. Steam rose from the wreckage as she pulled over, her heart hammering against her ribs. She should keep driving. Every instinct screamed at her to leave. This was downtown LA at midnight, and nothing good happened here after dark. But then she heard it, a woman's weak cry for help coming from the twisted metal. What Emily didn't know was that saving the elegant woman trapped in that car would change everything. The woman's son wasn't just any man. He was William Torino, the most feared name in the Los Angeles underworld. And when he discovered that a simple waitress had risked her life to save his mother, obsession would consume him in ways that terrified even his own men. Because some acts of kindness create debts that can never be repaid. And some debts transform into something far more dangerous than gratitude. To follow this intense story to its conclusion, join our growing community. Our goal is to reach 5,000 subscribers, and your support makes all the difference. Subscribe now and let us know in the comments where you're listening from. Your engagement helps us bring you more captivating stories like this one. Emily Martinez had always believed in small acts of kindness. Working the late shift at Rosetta's Italian restaurant in Beverly Hills taught her that sometimes a warm smile or an extra dinner roll could turn someone's entire day around. What she never expected was that one split-second decision would thrust her into a world where kindness came with deadly consequences. The accident happened on her drive home through downtown LA. Emily was exhausted after a 12-hour shift, her feet aching in her worn sneakers, when she saw the luxury SUV lose control. The driver had been speeding, taking the curve too fast, and the vehicle flipped as if in slow motion before her eyes. She pulled her beat-up Honda to the curb, hands trembling as she dialed 911. There's been an accident on Wilshire Boulevard near the financial district. A black SUV flipped multiple times. I can see someone trapped inside. The dispatcher's voice was calm and professional, but Emily barely heard the questions. She was already running toward the wreckage, her server's instincts kicking in. When someone needed help, you helped. No questions asked. The SUV lay on its side, the expensive paint job now a canvas of scrapes and dents. Through the spider-webbed rear window, Emily could see an older woman with silver hair, conscious but dazed, blood trickling from a cut on her forehead. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" Emily called, trying to find a way inside. The woman's eyes focused on her, and Emily was struck by their unusual violet color, beautiful even in distress. "My purse," the woman whispered in accented English, her voice cultured and refined. "I need my medication." Emily spotted the leather handbag thrown against the far door. Without hesitation, she crawled through the shattered rear window, ignoring the glass that bit into her palms and knees. The smell of gasoline was getting stronger. "What medication?" Emily asked, reaching the purse and rifling through it. Her hands found a small silver pill case engraved with the letter T. "Heart condition," the woman gasped. 2 pills under the tongue. Emily's training as a former pre-med student kicked in. She'd dropped out after her father's business failed, and she could no longer afford tuition, but she remembered enough. The woman was having a cardiac episode, probably triggered by the trauma. With gentle but efficient movements, Emily helped position the pills correctly. "What's your name? Stay with me." "Amelia," the woman breathed. "Amelia Torino." The name meant nothing to Emily, but something in the woman's bearing suggested she was someone important. Her clothes, though torn from the accident, were clearly expensive. The jewelry that hadn't been scattered in the crash was real. Emily had learned to recognize quality during her years serving LA's elite. "Help is coming, Amelia. Just breathe with me, in and out." For 10 minutes, Emily stayed with her, monitoring her pulse, keeping her conscious and calm. When the paramedics finally arrived, they were amazed to find both women stable. "You probably saved her life," the lead paramedic told Emily as they loaded Amelia onto a stretcher. "That heart medication, administered when it was, 5 more minutes, and we might have had a very different outcome." As the ambulance doors closed, Amelia reached out and grasped Emily's hand. Her grip was surprisingly strong for someone who'd just been in a major accident. "Thank you," she whispered. "I won't forget this. Neither will my son." Emily watched the ambulance disappear into the night, then spent the next hour giving her statement to the police. A drunk driver had run a red light and clipped the SUV, sending it into the barrier. The other driver had fled the scene. By the time Emily got home to her small apartment in Silver Lake, dawn was breaking over Los Angeles. She showered off the glass and blood, treated her cuts with antiseptic, and tried to process what had happened. She'd saved someone's life tonight. It felt surreal. She fell asleep thinking about Amelia's unusual eyes and wondering if the older woman would be okay. What Emily didn't know was that across the city, a man was moving heaven and earth to find out everything about the waitress who had saved his mother's life. William Torino had received the call at 2 a.m. His mother, the only person in the world he loved without condition, had been in a serious accident. By the time he reached Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, she was stable but shaken. "Tell me about the woman who helped you," he said, sitting beside her hospital bed. His voice was gentle with her, though his men knew that same voice could turn deadly in an instant. "An angel, William? A true angel." Amelia's eyes were bright despite her exhaustion. "She crawled into that wreckage to save a stranger. She knew exactly what to do with my heart medication. Without her..." William's jaw tightened. He'd nearly lost the only family he had left, and he owed this stranger everything. In his world, debts were sacred. But this felt like something deeper than debt. "What was her name?" "Emily, that's all I know, but William, find her. I want to thank her properly." William nodded, but his mind was already racing beyond gratitude. Someone had saved his mother's life, had risked their own safety for a stranger. In his experience, such purity was almost mythical. He had to know more about this Emily. By morning, he had her full name, her address, her employment history, her credit score, and her daily routine. Emily Martinez, 26, worked at Rosetta's restaurant, lived alone, no family in the area, clean background, not even a parking ticket. What struck him most was how ordinary she seemed. In a city full of people angling for something, Emily appeared to want nothing more than to earn an honest living. She'd saved his mother's life and then simply gone home, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. But as William studied her photograph, a candid shot his men had taken outside the restaurant, something stirred in his chest that he didn't recognize. She was beautiful, yes, but it was more than that. There was something about her face, something pure and genuine that made him want to know everything about her. He told himself it was gratitude. But deep down, William Torino was beginning to realize that what he felt for Emily Martinez was going to be much more complicated than simple appreciation. 3 days after the accident, Emily noticed she was being watched. It started as a feeling, that prickle between her shoulder blades that made her glance over her shoulder while walking to work. Then she began spotting the same black sedan parked across from Rosetta's during her shifts. When she left the restaurant, it followed at a distance until she reached her apartment building. Any other woman might have been terrified, but Emily had grown up in East LA before her family moved to the suburbs, and she'd developed good instincts about danger. Whoever was watching her wasn't trying to hurt her. If they were, they would have acted already. This felt more like protection. Still, she couldn't shake her unease as she served tables on Thursday evening. Rosetta's was busy with the usual crowd of entertainment industry executives and Beverly Hills socialites. Emily had been working there for 3 years, long enough to recognize the regulars and anticipate their needs. She was refilling water glasses at table 12 when she noticed him. The man sat alone at a corner booth, and Emily's breath caught in her throat. He was easily the most striking man she'd ever seen, tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair and features that belonged in a Renaissance painting. His suit probably cost more than she made in 6 months, and he wore it with the kind of confidence that suggested he was accustomed to being the most powerful person in any room. But what made her hands tremble as she approached his table wasn't his obvious wealth or devastating good looks. It was the way he looked at her, with an intensity that made her feel like he could see straight through her soul. "Good evening," Emily said, proud that her voice remained steady. "Can I start you with something to drink?" William Torino studied the woman standing beside his table, and every photograph his investigators had shown him paled in comparison to seeing her in person. Emily Martinez was more beautiful than any picture could capture, but that wasn't what held his attention. It was the warmth in her dark eyes, the genuine kindness in her smile, the way she carried herself with dignity despite her humble circumstances. "Wine," he said, his voice deep and commanding. "Your best Italian red." Emily nodded and moved to walk away, but his voice stopped her. "Wait." She turned back and he could see a slight flush coloring her cheeks. She was nervous, but trying not to show it. He found her courage fascinating. "Have we met before?" William asked, though of course he knew they hadn't. He wanted to hear her voice again, wanted to see how she would respond. Emily's heart began racing. There was something about this man that set every nerve ending ablaze. She'd served countless wealthy, powerful men, but none of them had ever made her feel like this, like she was standing too close to a dangerous fire. "I don't think so," she said carefully. "I would have remembered." The corner of his mouth lifted in what might have been a smile. "Yes," he said softly, "you would have." Emily excused herself to get his wine, her hands shaking slightly as she selected a bottle of Barolo from their premium collection. She could feel his eyes following her every movement, and when she returned to pour his glass, she was acutely aware of how close she had to stand to him. "Are you dining alone this evening?" she asked, falling back on professional routine to calm her nerves. "I am, though I find myself hoping for good company." Emily felt heat rise in her cheeks. Was he flirting with her? Men hit on her regularly at work, but something about this felt different, more intense, more dangerous. "I'll give you a few minutes to look at the menu," she said, retreating to safer ground. But William wasn't interested in the menu. He was studying Emily, memorizing the way she moved between tables with efficient grace, noting how she remembered every customer's preferences, watching the genuine smile she gave an elderly couple celebrating their anniversary. His mother had called her an angel, and now he understood why. Emily Martinez possessed something rare in his world: authentic goodness. She wasn't performing kindness for an audience or angle for personal gain. This was simply who she was. It should have been enough to satisfy his curiosity. He'd seen her, confirmed that his debt of gratitude was owed to someone worthy. He should have finished his wine and left, perhaps arranging for a generous anonymous donation to be made in her name. Instead, he found himself ordering dinner, then dessert, then coffee, anything to extend his time watching her work. Emily was hyper-aware of her mysterious customer throughout the evening. Every time she glanced his way, she found him watching her with that unsettling intensity. He ate little, drank less, but seemed content to simply observe. When the restaurant began to empty near closing time, Emily gathered her courage and approached his table one final time. "Can I get you anything else?" William set down his coffee cup and looked directly into her eyes. "Your name?" Emily's breath caught. "Emily. Emily." He said it like he was tasting something precious. "It suits you." She waited for him to offer his name in return, but he didn't. Instead, he placed a $100 bill on the table, far more than necessary for his modest order. "Keep the change," he said, standing. He was even taller than she'd thought, and standing this close, Emily caught the scent of his cologne, something expensive and masculine that made her head spin. "Thank you," she managed. "That's very generous." "Generosity is relative," William said. "Some gifts are beyond price." Before Emily could ask what he meant, he was gone, leaving her standing beside the empty table with her heart racing and 100 questions burning in her mind. Outside the restaurant, William stood in the shadows, watching Emily through the window as she finished cleaning up. His phone buzzed with a text from his lieutenant, Marco. "Target location secured. Awaiting instructions." William typed back quickly. "Continue surveillance. No contact. Report anything unusual." He'd told himself he just wanted to see her once, to satisfy his curiosity about the woman who'd saved his mother. But standing here watching Emily work, seeing her kindness and grace firsthand, William realized he was lying to himself. He didn't just want to know Emily Martinez, he wanted to possess her completely. The realization should have disturbed him. William Torino was a man who controlled his desires as rigidly as he controlled everything else in his life. But something about Emily made him want to throw caution to the wind. As Emily finally left the restaurant and walked toward her car, William made a decision that would change both their lives forever. He wasn't going to walk away. He was going to find a way to make Emily Martinez his, one way or another. Emily couldn't stop thinking about the mysterious man from the restaurant. 3 days had passed since his visit, and she found herself scanning every face that entered Rosetta's, hoping and dreading in equal measure that he would return. She was restocking wine glasses on Friday evening when her manager, Giuseppe, approached with an unusual expression. "Emily, there's someone here to see you, a woman. She says it's personal." Emily's first thought was bill collector, or some other unpleasant obligation, but when she looked toward the hostess station, her heart nearly stopped. Standing there in an elegant cream-colored suit was the woman from the accident, Amelia Torino. "Amelia?" Emily rushed over, genuinely concerned. "Are you all right?" Should you be out so soon after? My dear girl. Amelia smiled warmly, reaching out to squeeze Emily's hands. I'm perfectly fine, thanks to you. May we sit somewhere private? I have something important to discuss. Giuseppe immediately offered his office, and soon Emily found herself sitting across from Amelia, still trying to process this unexpected reunion. I've been hoping to find you, Amelia said. I needed to thank you properly for what you did. The doctor said if you hadn't administered my heart medication when you did, anyone would have done the same thing, Emily said modestly. No, Amelia's voice was firm. They wouldn't have. You crawled into a dangerous situation to help a complete stranger. You knew exactly what to do, and you did it without hesitation. That kind of courage and compassion is rare. Emily felt heat rise in her cheeks. I'm just glad you're okay. Amelia studied Emily's face with those unusual violet eyes, and Emily had the distinct feeling she was being evaluated for something. I have a proposition for you, Amelia said finally. I need someone to help me during my recovery. Light duties, driving me to appointments, helping with correspondence, that sort of thing. The pay would be quite generous. Emily blinked in surprise. That's very kind, but I have a job here. The salary would be 5 times what you make at this restaurant. The number Amelia mentioned made Emily's head spin. It was more money than she'd ever imagined earning. I don't understand, Emily said slowly. Why me? Surely you could hire a professional assistant, someone with experience. Because I trust you, Amelia said simply. You saved my life without knowing who I was, or whether you'd be rewarded for it. In my world, that kind of integrity is invaluable. Emily was quiet for a long moment, weighing the offer. The money would solve so many problems. She could finally afford to finish her pre-med degree, move to a safer apartment, maybe even help her parents with their mortgage. What exactly is your world? Emily asked carefully. She'd sensed that Amelia Torino was someone important, but she had no idea how important. Amelia's expression grew more serious. My family is influential. We have business interests throughout Los Angeles. It's not dangerous work I'm offering you, Emily, but I won't lie. My son is very protective of me, especially after the accident. He'll want to meet you before any arrangements are finalized. Something in the way Amelia said, my son, made Emily's stomach flutter with anticipation and anxiety. When would I meet him? Tonight, if you're free. He's waiting in the car outside. Emily's heart began racing. He's here. Now. William doesn't like to wait once he's made a decision, and he's very eager to thank the woman who saved his mother's life. William. The name fitted the mysterious man from earlier that week, and suddenly Emily understood why he'd seemed familiar when she'd seen him at the restaurant. The same intense presence, the same sense of barely contained power. That man who came to the restaurant on Thursday, Emily said slowly. That was your son. Amelia's eyes twinkled with something that might have been amusement. You have good instincts. Yes, that was William. He wanted to see you for himself before making this offer. Emily felt a chill run down her spine. He was evaluating me. In a way, but Emily, I think you made quite an impression. My son is not easily intrigued, but he's been asking about you constantly since that night. Outside, William sat in the back of his armored Mercedes, hands clenched into fists as he waited. He'd wanted to come inside himself, but his mother had insisted this was her conversation to have. Still, every minute that passed felt like an eternity. His phone buzzed. A text from Amelia. She's agreed to meet you, coming out now. William's pulse quickened. For 3 days, he'd been consumed with thoughts of Emily Martinez. He'd watched the surveillance footage of her daily routine dozens of times, memorized her schedule, learned everything about her life, but none of that had satisfied the growing obsession in his chest. He needed to possess her completely. Her time, her attention, her thoughts. The job offer was just the beginning. The restaurant door opened, and Emily appeared beside his mother. In the evening light, she was even more beautiful than he remembered. She wore her waitress uniform with dignity, her dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, her face free of the calculated makeup most women in his circles wore. William stepped out of the car, and Emily's breath caught. In the confined space of the restaurant, his presence had been overwhelming. Out here, he seemed even more dangerous, tall and imposing in his dark suit, his eyes locked on her with predatory focus. Emily, he said, his voice sending shivers down her spine. We meet again. Mr. Torino, she managed, proud that her voice didn't shake. William, he corrected, moving closer. My mother tells me you're considering our offer. Emily glanced between mother and son, noting the way William's entire demeanor changed when he looked at Amelia, becoming gentler, more vulnerable. This was clearly a man who loved his mother deeply. "It's a generous offer," Emily said carefully, "but I'm not sure I'm qualified for the position." "You're the only person qualified," William said with such conviction that Emily felt her pulse quicken. "You saved her life, that makes you family." The word family hung in the air between them, loaded with implications Emily didn't fully understand. "I'd want to discuss the details," she said. "The schedule, the responsibilities." "Of course." William opened the car door. "Let's talk over dinner." Emily hesitated. Something told her that getting in this car would change her life in ways she couldn't predict. But the offer was too good to pass up, and despite her nervousness around William, she trusted Amelia. "All right," she said, sliding into the luxury vehicle. As the Mercedes pulled away from Rosetta's, Emily had no idea that she'd just made the decision that would transform her from a simple waitress into the obsession of the most dangerous man in Los Angeles. In the seat across from her, William studied Emily's profile as she looked out the window at the city lights, and he felt something primitive and possessive uncoil in his chest. She was going to be his, whatever it took. The restaurant William chose for their dinner was unlike anything Emily had ever experienced. Located on the top floor of a downtown high-rise, it had no name and no public entrance. William's driver had taken them to a private elevator that required a special key card. "This is incredible," Emily breathed as they were seated at a table overlooking the glittering expanse of Los Angeles. "How did you even know this place existed?" "I own it," William said simply, as if owning anonymous restaurants 40 stories above the city was perfectly normal. Emily felt a new wave of nervousness wash over her. She'd suspected the Torinos were wealthy, but this level of affluence was beyond her comprehension. A server appeared instantly. No menus, no questions. Within minutes, their table was filled with dishes Emily couldn't pronounce, but that smelled incredible. "I took the liberty of ordering," William said, noting her surprise. "Trust me?" The question felt loaded with meaning beyond food choices. Emily nodded, taking a bite of what turned out to be the most delicious pasta she'd ever tasted. "Tell me about yourself," William said, his dark eyes never leaving her face. "Beyond what I already know." "What do you already know?" Emily asked, suddenly suspicious. William's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. "That you're 26, originally from East LA, worked at Rosetta's for 3 years, that you were pre-med before financial circumstances forced you to drop out, that you live alone and send money to your parents in Arizona every month." Emily's fork froze halfway to her mouth. "How do you know all that?" "I make it my business to know about people who matter to me," William said calmly. "I matter to you." The question slipped out before Emily could stop it. William leaned forward, his gaze intensifying. "You saved my mother's life. That makes you the most important person in my world right now." Emily felt her cheeks flush. There was something in the way he said, "right now," that suggested he meant something more permanent. "That still doesn't explain how you gathered so much personal information about me." William was quiet for a moment, and Emily got the distinct impression he was deciding how much truth to tell her. "My family has resources," he said finally. "When someone impacts our lives significantly, we learn about them. It's a matter of security." "Security from what?" Another pause. "From people who might want to hurt us, or use our gratitude against us." Emily set down her fork, studying William's face. "What exactly does your family do, William?" This was the moment he'd been dreading and anticipating in equal measure. William had never told a woman the truth about his life. His world was too dangerous, his reputation too dark. But sitting across from Emily, seeing the honesty in her eyes, he found himself wanting to be truthful. "We're in import-export," he said, which was technically accurate even if it omitted crucial details. "Family business, very old-fashioned. We value loyalty, honor, taking care of our own." Emily sensed there was more to the story, but something in William's expression warned her not to push. Instead, she changed the subject. "About this job offer, what would my actual responsibilities be?" William seemed to relax at the safer topic. "Helping my mother with her daily activities while she recovers, driving her to appointments, handling her correspondence, light household management. She's used to being independent, but the accident shook her more than she'll admit. And the salary you mentioned would allow you to return to medical school if that's what you want, or pursue whatever dreams you've had to put aside." Emily's heart clenched. The offer was everything she'd hoped for, but never dared dream possible. "Why medicine?" William asked, genuine curiosity in his voice. "I want to help people. I know it sounds naive, but I've always believed that if you have the ability to ease someone's suffering, you have an obligation to try." William felt something twist in his chest at her earnestness. In his world, people helped others for profit, leverage, or protection. The idea of selfless service was foreign to him, but utterly captivating. "Nothing naive about it," he said softly. "The world needs more people like you." Their eyes met across the table, and Emily felt that dangerous flutter in her stomach again. William Torino was the most compelling man she'd ever met. Intelligent, powerful, devastatingly handsome. But there was something else, something darker that she couldn't quite identify. "If I took this position," she said carefully, "what would be the boundaries? I mean, would I be working just with your mother, or—" "You'd be part of the household," William said. "I travel frequently for business, but when I'm home you'd see me regularly. Is that a problem?" Emily's pulse quickened. The thought of seeing William regularly was both thrilling and terrifying. "No," she said, probably too quickly. "No problem." William smiled, the first genuine smile Emily had seen from him, and it transformed his entire face. The dangerous edge remained, but underneath it she glimpsed something warmer. "Good," he said, "because I have a confession to make." Emily's heart started racing. "What kind of confession?" "I didn't just come to the restaurant to see the woman who saved my mother. I came because I couldn't stop thinking about you." The admission hung in the air between them, heavy with implications. "William, I know it's complicated," he continued. "You'd be working for my family, and I'd be your employer. But I can't pretend I don't feel something when I look at you." Emily's mouth went dry. She'd sensed the attraction between them, but hearing him say it out loud made it real in a way that scared her. "I don't know what to say," she admitted. "Say you'll take the job," William said, his voice low and intense. "Say you'll let me take care of you the way you took care of my mother." Emily looked into his dark eyes and saw something that made her breath catch, not just desire, but a kind of desperate hunger that should have frightened her. Instead, she found herself nodding. "Yes," she whispered, "I'll take the job." William's smile this time was purely predatory, and Emily realized she'd just agreed to much more than employment. She'd just agreed to belong to William Torino, whether she understood it yet or not. Emily's first day working for the Torino family began at the Beverly Hills mansion that took her breath away. The house was a monument to wealth and power, marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and artwork that belonged in museums. But it was the army of security personnel that made her truly understand what she'd gotten herself into. "Don't mind them," Amelia said, noticing Emily's wide-eyed observation of the men in dark suits positioned throughout the house. "William is cautious about our safety." Emily was settling into her new routine when she discovered the first sign of William's growing obsession. Her apartment had been upgraded, without her permission, to a luxury unit in a secure building 10 minutes from the mansion. Her old car had been replaced with a brand new BMW. Her student loans had been mysteriously paid off. "I can't accept all this," Emily protested when William appeared at the mansion that evening. "Why not?" he asked, genuinely confused by her objection. "Because it's too much. I haven't done anything to earn this level of generosity." William stepped closer, his presence filling the elegant living room. "You saved my mother's life. There's no gift too expensive for that. But the apartment, the car, paying off my debts, that goes way beyond gratitude." "Does it?" William's voice was soft but intense. "Because from where I stand, nothing I could give you would equal what you gave me." Emily felt that familiar flutter of nervous excitement. "William, we barely know each other." "Then let me know you." He moved closer still, until she could feel the heat radiating from his body. "Have dinner with me. Not business dinner, just us. I work for your family now." "That makes it complicated." "Only if we let it be complicated." William reached out and gently touched her cheek, his thumb tracing her jawline. "Emily, I've never felt anything like what I feel when I look at you." The admission sent shivers through her body. "What do you feel?" "Like you're mine," he said simply. "Like you were always meant to be mine." The possessive words should have alarmed her, but instead they made her pulse race with anticipation. "That's a dangerous thing to say," Emily whispered. "I'm a dangerous man." William's thumb traced across her lower lip. "But never to you. Never, ever to you." Before Emily could respond, William's phone rang. The moment shattered as he answered with a sharp, "What?" Emily watched his expression change as he listened to whoever was on the other end. The gentle, vulnerable man disappeared, replaced by someone cold and commanding. "Handle it," he said into the phone. "Use whatever methods necessary." He ended the call and looked at Emily, his expression softening again instantly. "Business emergency. I have to go. Is everything all right?" "It will be." William leaned down and pressed a soft kiss to her forehead. "Think about what I said, Emily. About dinner. About us." After he left, Emily found herself touching the spot where his lips had been, her heart racing with feelings she didn't fully understand. 3 days later, Emily discovered just how dangerous William Torino's world really was. She was leaving the mansion after a long day helping Amelia organize a charity event when she noticed the black sedan that had been following her was missing. Instead, she spotted a different car, a white van with tinted windows parked across the street. Emily's instincts, honed by years of living in East LA, kicked in. Something was wrong. She pretended not to notice as she got into her BMW, but instead of driving home, she took a circuitous route through Beverly Hills. The van followed. When she turned into a parking garage, it followed her there too. Emily's hands were shaking as she called William. "What's wrong?" His voice was sharp with instant concern. "Someone's following me. A white van. It's not one of your security people." "Where are you?" Emily told him, and she heard him barking orders to someone else before coming back on the line. "Stay in the car. Lock the doors. Don't get out for anyone except me or my men. I'm 5 minutes away." Emily huddled in the BMW, watching the van in her rearview mirror. She could see figures moving inside, but the windows were too dark to make out faces. 4 minutes later, the parking garage erupted in controlled chaos. Black SUVs appeared from multiple directions, boxing in the white van. Men in dark suits emerged with military precision, surrounding the vehicle. Emily watched in fascination and terror as the van's occupants were dragged out and forced to their knees. Then William appeared, striding through the garage like an avenging angel. Even from a distance, Emily could see the cold fury on his face as he approached the men who'd been following her. He spoke to them briefly, his voice too low for her to hear, but their terrified expressions told her everything she needed to know. William Torino was not a man to cross. When he finally approached her car, his expression had transformed back to concern and gentleness. "Are you hurt?" were his first words as Emily got out of the car on shaking legs. "No, I'm fine." "Who were they?" "Competitors. People who think they can use my feelings for you against me." William's jaw clenched. "They were wrong." "Your feelings for me?" William cupped her face in his hands, his dark eyes burning with intensity. "Emily, you need to understand something. What I feel for you isn't casual interest. It's not simple attraction." "Then what is it?" "Obsession," he said simply. "Complete, consuming obsession. I think about you every moment of every day. I can't focus on business, can't sleep, can't think about anything except making sure you're safe and happy and mine." Emily's breath caught at his raw honesty. "William, I know it should scare you. It scares me. I've never felt anything like this before." His thumbs traced over her cheekbones. "But I can't fight it anymore, Emily. I don't want to fight it." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that you're not just working for my family anymore. You're under my protection, permanently." His voice was gentle but absolutely firm. "Those men tonight were the last ones who will ever threaten you." Emily looked into his eyes and saw the truth. William Torino would burn down the entire city before he let anyone hurt her. "I don't understand your world," she whispered. "You don't need to understand it. You just need to let me protect you." William pulled her closer until their bodies were pressed together. "Let me take care of you the way you deserve to be taken care of." Emily felt herself melting into his embrace, all her rational objections fading away. "And what do you want in return?" "Everything," William said softly. "Your time, your attention, your trust. Your heart, if you'll give it to me." Standing in that parking garage, surrounded by evidence of William's dangerous power, Emily made a choice that would define the rest of her life. "Yes," she breathed. "Yes to all of it." William's smile was triumphant as he claimed her lips in a kiss that sealed their fate. Emily Martinez was his now, completely and irrevocably, and William Torino would kill anyone who tried to take her away from him. 2 years later, Emily stood in the garden of the Torino estate, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson. The mansion had become home in ways she never expected, Filled with laughter, love, and a security she'd never imagined possible, Amelia had recovered completely from the accident, but had kept Emily on as her personal assistant and, more importantly, as the daughter she'd never had. The charity work they did together had given Emily's life a sense of purpose that fulfilled her in unexpected ways. "Admiring your handiwork?" William's voice came from behind her, warm with affection and pride. Emily turned to see him approaching, still devastatingly handsome in his perfectly tailored suit. But now she saw past the dangerous exterior to the man who brought her coffee in bed every morning and held her during thunderstorms. "Mrs. Rodriguez's garden party is going to be beautiful," Emily said, gesturing to the elaborate setup they'd spent weeks planning. "Your mother's foundation will raise more money than ever." William pulled her into his arms, his embrace familiar and comforting after all this time. "You've transformed her life, you know, given her purpose beyond worrying about me." "And what about you?" Emily asked, running her fingers along his jawline. "Do I transform your life too?" "Every single day," William murmured, pressing soft kisses along her neck. "You make me want to be a better man." Emily smiled, thinking about how much both of them had changed. William was still the most powerful man in Los Angeles, but his business had evolved, becoming more legitimate, more focused on protection and security rather than the darker enterprises of his past. He'd never fully explained the transformation, but Emily understood it was connected to his love for her. "I have something for you," William said, pulling back to look into her eyes. "It's not my birthday. It's the anniversary of the accident. 2 years since you saved my mother and changed everything." William reached into his jacket pocket and withdrew a small velvet box that made Emily's heart stop. "William, I know we've talked about this. I know you wanted to finish medical school first, wanted to establish your own identity beyond being mine." He opened the box to reveal a ring that took her breath away, a perfect diamond surrounded by smaller stones that caught the fading light like captured stars. "But I can't wait anymore, Emily. I need you to be my wife." Emily looked down at the ring, then up at the man who'd turned her entire world upside down with his obsessive, protective, all-consuming love. "The ring is beautiful," she said softly. "But?" "No buts." Emily smiled, holding out her hand. "Yes, William. Yes, I'll marry you." William's expression transformed from nervous anticipation to pure joy as he slipped the ring onto her finger. It fitted perfectly, because of course it did. William never left anything to chance when it came to her happiness. "I love you," he said, cupping her face in his hands. "More than I ever thought possible. More than is probably healthy." "I love you too," Emily whispered, obsession and all. As William kissed her under the California sunset, Emily reflected on the journey that had brought them here. 2 years ago, she'd been a simple waitress, struggling to make ends meet. Now she was a pre-med student again, thanks to William's support, engaged to a man who would move mountains to keep her safe and happy. She'd learned to navigate William's world of wealth and power, had seen both his gentleness and his capacity for violence when protecting those he loved. Most importantly, she'd learned that love, real, transformative love, sometimes came in unexpected packages. "Mrs. Torino," William murmured against her lips, testing out the name. "I like the sound of that," Emily replied, and she meant it. In the distance, Amelia's laughter drifted from the mansion where she was entertaining dinner guests. Security personnel moved discreetly through the shadows, ensuring their safety. The life Emily had stumbled into was complicated and sometimes dangerous, but it was theirs. And as William spun her around the garden, the diamond on her finger catching the last rays of sunlight, Emily knew she wouldn't change a single moment of the journey that had brought her here. Sometimes the most beautiful love stories began with a simple act of kindness, and a man obsessed enough to move heaven and earth to keep the woman who'd saved his world. This was their love story, and it was perfect. This incredible journey has come to an end, but Emily and William's story will stay with us. If this tale of unexpected love and transformation touched your heart, please like this video and share it with someone who enjoys emotional, captivating stories. Subscribe for more amazing stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Until next time, thank you for joining us in this unforgettable love story.